Hey, Sam here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over how to create some audiograms for your podcast. So if you're asking what the heck is an audiogram, basically an audiogram is kind of like a mashup between a video and a graphic, but without any actual video, and the only assets we're going to be using are the audio, like from your podcast. These are great for people who record audio-only podcasts and still want to take advantage of the bias of social media algorithms towards video. Pretty much regardless of social platform, video posts get higher engagement and are pushed by the algorithms more, which generally tends to give video posts higher reach. So if you want to take advantage of that and you don't actually record the video from your podcast, then audiograms are a great way to take advantage of that. All right, let's check out an example. So this is from the Dare to Interrupt podcast. This episode is featuring Kyle Godfrey Ryan, and it's by Courtney Stanley. Okay, let's just look at some of the key components of this audiogram. So, number one, we can tell, all right, it's a little different because there's no video. That's fine. We've got the title up here, right? So, Dare to Interrupt, that's the name of the podcast, featuring guest name, all right? I'm assuming this is part of the logo of the podcast. Here, we've got captions, and we can see the future words are kind of grayed out, and then when they're said, they turn darker black. Down here, we can see the waveform, right? And that will move as the person's talking. So if you're just watching this, we can see, it's going with the audio of the person talking. And then down here, we've got a progress bar. And then we've got a social media handle here. So let's take a look at another example. All right. This is from the Grow Kinder podcast that is put together by the Committee for Children. So here, if we're looking for some of the key components again, we're seeing the name of the podcast. I believe this is probably their podcast cover art. So they're just using the whole cover art there. Down here, we've got some text with a little bit of a background. And then up here, we've got the audio waveform. We should be starting to see some of the key components and what we're generally looking for from an audiogram. And then let's take another example here. So this one, we've got the guest company logo here. We've got a quote from the guest, and we've got guest name, and then their title and their company, and then we've got the podcast kind of logo there, and then here we've got the audio waveform, and we've got a nice picture of our guest here, and then down here we've got captions, and we can see that they've got an active word activated, so the active word just shows up green, which is nice and cool, and so this waveform, obviously is responding to this audio there. All right, so we got another example here. So this is actually from Ford, and it's their CEO's podcast called Drive. So that's their CEO. So we've got the people that are talking. If we go back, we can see, all right, so this is Jim talking, right? And we've got future words that are a little grayed out. We can see the waveform here. And then I believe this is either a co-host or a guest. And so we've got their picture there. So some of the key components are the name of the show, picture of the guest or whoever's speaking, the waveform, obviously, captions, and the guest's name, and maybe what their title is, and maybe the episode number. All right, so if we just go super simple, and maybe you can imagine throwing in your podcast cover art as the background, or an image that's related to your podcast, we'll just remake this one. So I'll go ahead and duplicate this so we have our same kind of starting point. Make it square, and we're going to do this all in Descript. So let's grab a square here, and what we're going to do is just give us like a background, basically. So let's go with that kind of salmon again. Okay, and we're going to grab a square with a transparent center to it and line that up correctly. I'll duplicate that, just Command D, and shrink it just a little bit. Line that up, and then I'm going to make that a little bit thinner. Okay, to give us a nice little frame here. Next, I want to, let's grab a photo of our guest. So I'll just grab this photo, we'll add new layer, and I'm just going to bring this down. In this island up here, we've got the shapes. That refers to the shape that the image is in. So if we click circle, cuts that out kind of into a circle. So let's make it, right around that size. And let's go to our properties. So let's just call this 300. Then what I'm going to do is let's outline that a little. So I'm going to take this square and back to layer, and let's just do 330 and line that up just so. And then I'm going to move that backwards. So Command Shift and left bracket to move that. So Shift and left bracket to move that back a little bit. That's a little thicker than I wanted it. So what I'm going to do is actually make our image a little larger. So if I make this 310, that looks a little better. How does it look at 315? Okay, I like that a lot better. Cool. So now let's go ahead and grab a subtitle. So we're going to put let's put our podcast name here and bring this down a little. All right, so we've got our podcast name, and I'm going to make this a little larger. So let's drag this text box over a bit more, and then get that nice and large. Okay, so podcast name. Boom, there we go. And I'm just going to hit Command D to duplicate that. And with this, I'm going to just put EP for like episode. So episode 205, let's say. All right. And for that, I'm going to bring it down in size, and that's good there. I'll duplicate this, And with that, I'm going to bring this over and say featuring. Let's bring that over there. Featuring make this a little smaller. And we'll duplicate this for our guest name. So guest name. And I'll bring that way. I'm going to make this text box a little longer for people who have longer names. We can also make the font a little smaller if necessary. So guest name, and grab this again, Command D, bring this down and put their title. So guest title at company, so wherever they work. Cool. And with that, let's actually go and put that in like regular, just to give us some contrast. Cool. So this is starting to look good. One thing I'm thinking is actually making this larger. So let's go ahead and let's bring that right there. And with this, let's go show more properties. Let's go to 400. And with our circle from behind there, let's go to 415. So let's see how that looks there. Okay, so that looks pretty good. I do want to... No, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so now I'm just going to line up podcast name with the top, bring that up there, and I'm going to align it so that the bottom of this this text box aligns with the bottom of this. So featuring guest name, and line that right up. And what we can even do, so if someone has a longer name, we'll just do that. And move that around a little. Okay. Cool. So, first name and then last name. That's looking pretty good so far. Now let's get into adding in the captions and the waveform. So, waveform, I'll come back over here to elements, and I'll grab these lines here. And we can drag them all the way over. And let's just look. So that looks pretty good. If I wanted to add more lines, I could, by going here and increasing the fidelity, if I wanted to make it kind of more drastic and so we can really see like the peaks and valleys, that's where I would come to our magnitude and bump that up a little bit. So now it's a little more drastic. So that's how you can do that. So let's, can we line that up with the halfway mark? It's going to be a little lower than halfway. Cool. Now let's grab some captions and just start with this. And let's get rid of the active word. And let's put the future words kind of grayed out a little bit. And then let's get rid of this shadow. That future word, I want to make that just a little darker. Okay. So that looks pretty good. Cool. So now we've got kind of the basis for our audiogram. And we can spruce this up a number of ways, but I'll save that for the next video. We can also bring this in a little bit and try and center that. Like I said, we can try and center that. Okay. So, yeah, that looks pretty good to me. And then if I wanted to save this as a template that I can reuse and reuse and reuse, I can just come over to Scene and come up here to these three dots and hit Save to Template. And then I can create a new template and just call it whatever and save it that way. And then anything in the future will just automatically apply this template. And then all you'll have to adjust is the episode number, the guest name, and then their title and their company, and then their photo. But that's it. The rest will all be there. We've got this final example here from the Procter & Gamble Alumni Podcast, okay? And just kind of looking over this, so Learnings from Leaders, that's the name of the podcast. The secondary tagline is basically the Procter & Gamble Alumni Podcast. We've got the guest name and the episode title. We've got captions here. We've got future words that are grayed out. We've got a picture of the guest right there. And then we've got the waveform down at the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this as our primary example because this is a great example of something that has most of what we've talked about. It's got all of the key components that we've talked about. So we're going to recreate this. All right. So I'm going to come over to Descript, and here I've got just some filler stuff that I recorded specifically for using as examples. Let's just say that we don't have the video file. All we have is the audio file. All right? Boom. Oh my God, where'd it go? Okay. This is perfectly normal. A lot of podcasters don't record video. I would definitely recommend recording video, but it's not the end of the world if you don't have video. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and turn it into this. All right. So to do that, come up and just make a duplicate. So let's rename this to PNG Audiogram example. All right. So what we're going to need to do is let's start by adjusting our canvas to be a square. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to go to Canva. If you don't have Canva, Canva's a super simple graphic designer. There's a free version. I'm going to be using the pro version, but you should be able to do everything that I'm doing. You should be able to do it in the free version, but just know that I might use something that's only in the pro version. We'll see. Okay, so we've got our, and I made this 1440, and we're going to call this P and G Audiogram background. So what we're going to do is we are going to basically make this image, and it's going to have everything except the waveform and the captions. All right. And then we're going to bring that to Descript, and then we're going to put the waveform and captions in Descript. All right. So let's do that. Okay. So we've got, should have the logos from this. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a duplicate of that. So just Command D. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to set the background color black for a second. I'm going to try removing the background. Hopefully this works. Sweet. Now I can do that. Okay, so we've got that. And then I'll just duplicate that. And we just need the PNG alumni podcast part. Sweet. Okay. Now, next up, let's take a square and let's add a weighty border to it. And we're going to send this to, I'm going to send this square to the back. Oops. Okay, and we're just going to make that take up the whole background there. And this border, we need to change the color of. Let me just pull this up there. Okay. So this border, we're going to change the color. It's going to be, yep. So it's going to be at an angle. And one color is going to be this blue. Okay, and the other color is going to be this like teal aquamarine. So awesome. We've successfully duplicated that. And actually what I'm going to do is I am going to make this clear. And then with our background, I'm going to make that this blue over here. All right, and the reason I'm doing that is because when I bring in the white color here, I'm going to need that to be behind or under the border along the outside. So our fill let's go to this. And okay. Now let's bring in another box, and there's a number of ways we could do this, but this is the way I've decided to do this. So what we're going to do is create a gradient from white to white, but clear. Cool. And let's bring that right around there-ish. Get our angle right. Extend this. A little too steep, so we'll just adjust that a little. And then we'll grab another block here, and we'll just adjust it to fit that. 14.2, so we'll put that at 14.2, and then extend it. And let's make that the right color. And all right, so I'm going to take those, group them, move them over. This isn't going to be 100% perfect, but it'll be close enough. But it'll get the idea across. And you can always, get as creative as you want to get with this. So now that we've got that, let's take it and move it backwards to there. Let's bring this down in size. Right around there. So we've got that. Then we're going to leave plenty of room for the captions. And let's duplicate this, and we will grab the bottom part that we need, which is the Procter & Gamble alumni podcast part. And we'll bring that down there. Bump that up in size. Then we'll come grab our text, and we've got guest name. Well, actually, with this, let's wait on this for Descript. We'll put the guest name in as well in Descript. But then we can grab our picture of the guest, and I'll just grab, I don't know, some picture of me, and we're going to remove the background. And come in like this. And because I'm blowing it up so much, it might get a little blurry. Let's do a little fine tuning with the background remover. Bring our brush size down. And we're just going to take out some of this chair that we don't need. So just going to gently brush over that. Take care of that. Okay, good there. And let's put that in, but let's position that correctly. So that's fine there. Cool. And now I will just download this. So going back to Descript, come over to Project over on the right side, hit Add File, and go to Downloads. Then we can just look up P and G. Okay. Let's open that up and add a new layer. Cool. So this is what we got so far. Now what we're going to do, let's add some captions. So I'm just going to grab kind of this classic one and then show you how I'm going to customize that to make it fit what we're trying to do. So we've got our example here. Let's bring up the font size. And I'll just put 75 in for now. Let's go maybe a little smaller. Sure, that works. And we are going to left align this. And we're going to come up here to custom. Okay, so to change the style of this, obviously we can change the font here, but to change how it actually shows up, we're going to get rid of the active word. Then we're going to change the fill to, I think, this same blue. Let's just go ahead and grab a sample of that. And future words, those are going to be this grayed out color. All right. Let's change our font up a little bit. We want something that's a little rounder. Sora or something that's really round. So if you don't find a font that you really love in Descript, you can always click Add Fonts to Drive, and you can search for a Google font here, or you can browse Google Fonts. And what that's going to do is open up a window in your browser. I like Chrome, so that's opened up, and you can choose any one of these fonts, of which there are quite a few, and you can add those pretty easily. So let's just see if we can find something that is round. Okay, this is a little closer. That looks pretty good. Yeah. Let's go with this one. So, Varela Round. So I'm just going to copy the name of that, come back here, search for Varela Round, and click Add to Drive. And now that is going to show up in our options here. Cool. So cool. So that's now added. And let's get on to kind of the next part, which is, so the next part, let's add in the guest name. And I said earlier that I thought this was the episode title. I think it's actually kind of like a headline of what this clip or this topic is about. So let's go over to Elements and grab a subtitle, and I'm going to put guest name, colon, title or topic of the clip. Okay, and let's adjust this a little bit. So, got that. And so I'm always just gonna just do that. So let's switch this up and go with that darker blue. And let's go ahead and bring the size down a bit. Let's see here. So brought the size down a bit, move that over a little. And let's switch up the font. Let's see how Sora looks. Not too bad. And obviously we don't need to get exactly perfect, but we can just get whatever. So let's just use this one. And maybe we'll go extra bold. Cool. So we've added that. And now I'm going to come over here to waveforms. And I'm going to add lines. Okay, so this is how it initially will show up. So what I'm going to do is just put that basically where we want it. And then we can switch up the colors there. And let's see how this looks when it's playing. So that looks pretty good, but let's tweak a few things. So if we bring the fidelity down, the fidelity is how many of these little lines there actually are. So I've brought that down, so that looks a little closer. Cool. And there it is. So we've got our guest photo, we've got the name of the podcast, we've got our captions, we've got the guest name and kind of the topic or title of the clip, and now we've got our waveform. And that's pretty much it. All right, and that's going to be it for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Really appreciate that. I hope this was helpful. If it was, let me know down in the comments. If you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe. Really helps the channel out, lets me know that I'm actually helping people. I'll see you all next time. Thanks so much again. Bye.